You're watching the Artists Forum. I'm Shelita Birchett. Now, 2001 marks our 20-year anniversary of living with the AIDS virus. Now, I'm sure many of you, like myself, can remember back to the first time you heard about it, read about it, talked about it. For me, it was 1981. I was in college, and I remember picking up a newspaper and reading about something under the title The Gay Plague. It might have been called GRID. Nobody seems to remember what that stands for anymore. It's been so long. I remember hearing about hepatitis B or hepatitis C. But most of all, I remember thinking it had nothing to do with me. And of course, that's all changed 20 years later. Today, we are joined with the AIDS Theater Project. I have the current artistic director, Drew Picard, here, and he's also here with his ensemble, and they're going to perform for us later. They're doing some very important work in educating the community about HIV and AIDS. I'd like to welcome you, Drew.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So, tell us, how did ATP get started?
Well, in my history research, I'm just 4 months into in being involved with AIDS Theater Project. A gentleman by the name of Seth Glassman began a writing workshop, I believe it was, at the Bailey House, and it was somehow connected to gay men's health crisis as well.
I remember hearing that.
And from there, after they finished their writing, the logical conclusion was to perform it, since it was theatrical writing. And from there, one thing led to another, and they began doing their productions in the greater Manhattan metropolitan area to schools, and became a outreach educational theater company.
And you've been doing, well, ATP has been in existence since 1987,
87,
right? 14
years.
Okay.
We have a tradition of always doing material based on the life stories of the existing, current, active members, members from the past as well. So everything that is done is one, original, and is not only true to life, it is life, because it's from their lives. All of the members in the company are either HIV positive or living with AIDS. Okay. That is a ground rule for the performing ensemble. The other positions can be filled with non-HIV infected, but now they have someone who also has AIDS, so we're 100% with HIV. So
you're living with the virus.
We are really living with it and loving it.
And yes, loving
in a way.
life. Loving life.
Yeah,
life.
absolutely.
Now, you say that you've been the artistic director for 4 months, so welcome.
4 months and 4 days.
Very important work.
Thank you.
Let's talk briefly about what led you to the AIDS Theater Project. I know that you were the head of another theater company.
Well, AIDS Theater Project very much fits into my life's work, which is to use all of the creative art disciplines as a way of healing myself, and to share that experience with others in the hopes that they may take something away from it that enhances and improves their quality of life. So it all fits in. I had previously run a mainstreamed able-bodied and handicapper theater company back in Michigan, and it was, in a sense, almost kind of an identical model to AIDS Theater Project, because we did all original material based on the life stories within the company. I trained performers that were all with disabilities, ranging from, as we have our range in the company of people newly tested or veterans such as myself of 19 years, living with HIV or living with full-blown AIDS. In that company we had high-functioning mentally retarded, blind, deaf, dumb, anything that basically came into the rehearsal room on time, we put on stage. And it kind of became, I didn't realize it was my life's work until I left it in 87, 88, and moved to Los Angeles and began a career as a theatrical agent.
And then you saw yourself.
Then I wanted a life.
Yeah. What's the age range of the people involved in the ensemble?
Anywhere from legal adult, 18, to whatever.
Oh, wonderful. I was just wondering
Wide-
if you had
wide
very
range.
young people involved.
Well, I understand, in fact, one of our current members who you will see later, a very gifted actress, Kathrine Porter is her name. She has a daughter who has participated at times with us. Recently, she played Kathy's daughter, so it wasn't a real stretch for her, but she comes in sometimes and will perform with us on stage. And since she is someone who is affected by HIV very directly, she has provided an incredible dimension to for the audience. After every performance, we have a question and answer period, and for probably 90% of the audience, it's the first time they've had a chance to actually talk directly to someone with HIV.
How are you received? Because I myself, I did some HIV/AIDS work through theater arts 10 years ago, and I was working in the schools. And 10 years ago, kids didn't feel that this disease really had much to do with them. They were pretty apathetic. Now that it's been 20 years, what's the response from most young people when you come into the schools and talk about how they can protect themselves from the virus?
You know, I'm not sure if I'm really the best person to answer that question, except that I can tell you in the short time I've been with the company, after 19 years and it becomes such a part of your life, you tend to get sometimes a little blasé about it. It's like, oh yeah, I got HIV, big deal. And I was so reminded in the first 2 months when we were going out to the schools, what a powerful experience it is for people to actually have a one-on-one with someone with HIV or with AIDS. That I don't know if things are really that much different than they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Kids are always going to go through an age where they feel invincible.
Yeah, that's what it is, right, you're right.
I was, and it took me a little bit longer to get out of it than most people. I'm not sure if I'm completely out of it.
Okay, tell me about funding. Are you currently getting any funding?
We have just currently actually received some funding from the North Star Fund, which is an agency located here in Manhattan that is a organization that funds people that are at a grassroots level that are aligning themselves with other grassroots organizations, making a real deliberate effort for some kind of social change. For us, the obvious social change is improved health care.
Right. There you go.
And another funding resources that we just recently got was from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, a grant to take a Spanish translation of one of our current properties called This AIDS Thing. We had it translated into Spanish, Esta Cosa del SIDA, and we received some funding to be able to take that into the Latino population, which is an incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for? Phobic, AIDS phobic, major. It's just,
as is the African American community as well. Yeah.
I've just kind of realized that I'd never worked so directly in the HIV and AIDS community prior to this job. I'd had experiences and with the community, but never such on a regular daily basis. And when I was handed the project Esta Cosa del SIDA and had to start trying to find in the Latino community a place and a space and an audience and so forth, and I had to start working very specifically with Latino-only actors, and I started, talking to them about their experiences, and I was so amazed how we have a gentleman in the company right now, and he's from Argentina, and to hear the stories of what it's like in Latin America, and they seem to carry the don't ask, don't tell policy with them here. And I found a number of people that came to our workshops in the last several months who actually chose to geographically relocate here so that they could be more out with their sexuality, could be more out and receive more support, emotional support, with their HIV or AIDS diagnosis. The communities are very closed down in communicating.
So this funding is helping you to infiltrate that community?
Yes.
And
yes, and we have from the North Star Fund, it's some general operating fund just to help us keep the doors open and be able to do our work, because a lot of our work, you need a lot of time to develop.
Yeah.
And generating your income solely by your booking isn't realistic for any nonprofit arts organization.
Well,
period.
exactly. I brought up the funding because I'm wondering, with our present administration, what's going on with the money. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back with Drew Picard from the AIDS Theater Project. We'll see you on the other side. The Artists Forum. Get connected. Be heard. The Artists Forum is a place where artists of all disciplines can network, collaborate, and exchange information and ideas. You want to know when to catch us? Well, then log on to tvguide.com's local listing section. You can also see us live on the web via Channel 57's mnn.org. On the Artists Forum, you'll see interviews with New York City's emerging talents in theater, dance, the visual arts, as well as the written word. We'll jump the velvet rope to get interviews with the entertainment industry's top insiders, as well as some of its underground talents. Expose yourself to the Artists Forum. Show us your work. Invite us to your performance. Do you have questions about the business? Do you need help better focusing your career? Or maybe you just want to post information about an upcoming project? Well, log on to our website, theartistsforum.org. The Artists Forum, on the pulse of community activities and events. I'm Shelita Birchett, and I'll see you on the Artists Forum. Welcome back to the Artists Forum. I'm Shelita Birchett, and we're here today with the AIDS Theater Project. I have the artistic director, Drew Picard, here, as well as members of the ensemble. Now, during the break, we were talking about the surprise of the ignorance that still pervades our community when it comes to HIV and AIDS information. And the ensemble is informing me that we do need more funding. We need more funding. So I think it's up to all of us to whack that Bush in the White House, to get him to give the money that we deserve to educate the people in our communities to save lives. Now, let's talk about the UN. I understand that ATP was invited to be part of the UN. Now, tell me exactly what happened at the UN. What was it?
Well, a friend of mine actually was the fundraiser for an organization known as Global Health Organization, which was founded by Dr. Gary Blick and is in Stamford, Connecticut. They utilized the fact that the United Nations took one full week to respectfully honor and to proactively deal with the international AIDS epidemic for 1 week at the United Nations. And so the Global Health Organization, which it kicked off a fundraising campaign called Beat AIDS, which is an acronym for Botswana, Education, Advocacy, and Treatment. Bottom line is they're going to Botswana, which is threatened with extinction due to the HIV and AIDS epidemic, and they're building a wellness community. As you may or may not know, one of the difficulties in treating the populations in Africa is the lack of watches. A lot of people don't know when to take their medications.
What?
It's very primitive. I mean, and so they have to, the people that are giving them the drugs, the only way for the treatments to work is if you are consistent with your dosages at the time intervals and with the food or no food or whatever the different specifics are. And so they are having to actually administer the drugs as well. What Global Health is doing is they're building a wellness community. Eventually it will have schools and housing, I understand. At the beginning level, they are only able to treat, I believe it's 60 people. And as you know, there's a concern and a need. There's a concern for the exorbitant high cost of the medicines that treat HIV and AIDS. And there's a tremendous need beyond education, of advocacy in these countries to improve overall their quality of health care.
I'm really perplexed by this because I know that we've known that there's been a problem with AIDS in Africa for most of the 20 years, but how long has this organization been helping? Do you know exactly?
How long is Global Health?
Yeah, how long have they been in existence?
Fairly new, a couple of years, I believe.
This is really...
They are a competitor to World Health Organization, which is, I believe, directly affiliated with the United Nations.
Okay.
Global Health is not affiliated with them.
Okay. Okay.
And Dr. Blick has a long history in the greater Manhattan area for treating some of the first HIV and AIDS persons. I'm not real clear on all their history, but I believe you may be having them on.
Yeah, we're going to have them on later. And tell me, so what did you, I understand that the play that you're going to do today, you performed at the UN. Am I correct?
We'll use the word play in the loosest sense.
The performance piece.
It's the dramatization, actually, of a poem that comes from a one-person show written by a long-term survivor of HIV.
Oh, okay.
It was a larger piece that I brought with me to the company, and the piece is called Achilles. It just so happened that the Global Health fundraising kickoff campaign to beat AIDS, the theme of it was designing hope. And the piece itself, which is part of my life story, I have a one-person show that will now work in with AIDS Theater Project, is about the warrior I found inside of me 19 years ago that has given me 19 years of thriving.
I like that.
I don't like to survive. I like to thrive.
I like that. I'm going to use that.
And as a writer, I love to play with words.
Yes, wordsmith, exactly.
And in some of the text itself, it says, "I'm a carrier of faith, hope," and what was this this fundraiser was about, designing hope. And you know, there's now becoming an epidemic of being AIDS out.
And what's that mean?
That means I am so tired after 19 years of going to all these gay men's health crisis benefits that I couldn't possibly think of going to another one. And that well, you know how with any fundraising cause, after a while.
Well, it's not chic anymore. I would think that after 20 years, this is not.
Do you see me wearing a ribbon?
I know, it's not, well, yeah, what color? What's the new color anyway? Is it purple now, or, I mean, really?
Depends on what I'm wearing. No, it after a while, it became very kind of token.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, it almost, to me, why I stopped wearing it is because it started to sound to me like, well, some of my best friends are black.
Right.
You know, and it started to become that kind of just token gesture, and this will say to the world that I'm, you know, evolved, and that I'm aware, and that I'm sensitive too. And having been in the theater world and seen a lot of those red ribbons, I know it's not true.
Exactly, exactly. So when you were there, what was your experience like at the UN, being there with all these countries that, you know, are talking about how the virus is affecting their populations? Well,
one of the most exciting things I've ever had in my career would suffice. It was extremely exciting. There we're at the United Nations. We were going through security and saying, yeah, we're the AIDS Theater Project. Yeah, we got AIDS, we're going through security. Well, I say that because a number of years ago, when the International AIDS Conferences started, when we had our first one here in San Francisco, I believe it was, in the late 80s, there were many presenters from other countries that weren't allowed to present because they weren't allowed into our country.
Right.
So, to be able to, in full voice, go through security and say, I got AIDS, is kind of cool.
Yes, yes. Well, as the new artistic director, I know that you've only been with ATP for 4 months.
4 months.
The previous artistic director is actually one of our hosts here at the Artists Forum. Her name is Letitia Guillory, and I believe she was the artistic director for 5 years, I think. So tell us what you're, in taking up the gauntlet, you know, what's your mission? What's your special vision for ATP?
Well, my first matter of business is to uphold the mission of the organization, which is simply put to humanize the epidemic by putting a face to it, by the telling of the life stories of those who are with HIV from their mouths. It's no really different than my own mission, which is to have the courage to be yourself.
You said something earlier about AIDS Out, and I think that, to me, it was a very profound statement to make, because it has been 20 years, and I think that when things aren't on the front pages of the newspaper anymore, and you know, Americans, we get so apathetic. And how are you? I know that you're going specifically into. Are you going into middle schools and high schools? And
when I came into the company, it was described to me in the interview that the company was at a crossroads and at a point of transition. And I have a background in theater and education, which is what ATP has solely been. I also have a background as a creative arts therapist, specifically a drama therapist, and I also have a background in theater, and I bring with me those things and mesh them all together, because through the powerful use of the medium of theater, you not only have the power to entertain, but you have the power to educate and to enlighten.
exactly.
Funny, it's three fingers, because wellness now is well known in the Western medicine world as body, mind, and soul harmony. And when you take care of all three, you've covered all bases. And the way I kind of look at it is, if you take care of two out of the three, the third one gets lonely, and so it comes along.
Okay, well, what are some of your the goals that you have set for yourself? Let's say in the next coming year, what kinds of things would you like to see happen with the AIDS Theater Project?
Ongoing foundation support
Okay.
so that we can, at our leisure, go into development as we need to. We have already started, as a result of our newly formed relationship with the Global Health Organization, we have already started to expand our audience base. That's our primary goal at this moment, is to expand our audience base in addition to the schools and those sorts of situations, to also go into AIDS nursing homes.
Very important.
The experience for them,
Healing, yes.
and
the
of
theater
learning
arts.
from the way I work with the ensemble is they are treated as assistant facilitators, and they are role models. And so when we go in to do a theater workshop with a group of able-bodied, non-HIV infected kids, they're learning from somebody who is considered to have leprosy, in a matter of speaking. You know, you were earlier, before the commercial break, a bit aghast at the ongoing kind of ignorance and hillbilly mentality, kind of backwoods mentality. I come from Michigan, from the Midwest, and it's the land of never changing, and that is really the largest percentage of our country. I mean, New York is
I know.
is unusual.
It's very unusual. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but before we go, I want to talk about what you specifically need for your organization. I know that the AIDS Theater Project has a website, because I logged on to it, and log on to the website at aidstheaterproject.org. Do you have a telephone number that they can reach you at directly? Do you know it offhand?
Oh, I think so.
Oh, is this it right here?
No, that's my home.
Okay, we don't want to call you.
We don't want to go there. 646-366-9388. No, that's not home.
Log on to the website, because you can get a lot of information as to how you can volunteer for the AIDS Theater Project. Of course, you always need volunteers. Can you make donations through the website? Do we know?
I don't know.
But
I'm computer illiterate.
I know, but you know what? If you call the number, can you give me the number again?
646-366-9388. Make the checks payable to AIDS Theater Project. We'll be happy to send on any paperwork that you need to be able to document your tax-deductible donation. I'll tell you how I am. The more of anything, the merrier, and I mean beyond funding. Because the treasures of your point of view is worth its weight in gold to me, as a writer, as someone who needs to because it is something that affects everyone, I want to hear from everyone. I would love everyone to become involved. I would love everyone just to begin to experience how much you can learn about yourself by doing the kind of work that we do, and how whenever you have the opportunity to enhance another person's independence, which is what we do, you overall improve the quality of life of the bigger picture.
Wow. Well, we know why you're the artistic director. I think you, I've only known you for about a half hour, but I think you're an amazing person, and I'm glad that I've had the chance to talk to you today. And if you want more information about the AIDS Theater Project, you can, of course, log on to their website, but you can also log on to theartistsforum.org, and we'll update you as to what's going on with the AIDS Theater Project. The ensemble is going to perform for you today a part of a piece that was written by Picard, and we're happy to have them as well. I'm Shelita Birchett. We'll see you next time on the Artists Forum.
1982.
1991. 1994.
1995.
1995.
1995.
1991.
Though you're 1995.
1995.
1995.
Though it's breaking,
1995.
when there are
1995.
1994.
1995.
you'll get by.
1995.
1994.
If you smile
1995.
through your fear and
1995.
sorrow,
1991.
smile, and
1995.
maybe tomorrow
1990.
see the sun
1994.
come shining through.
19.
19.
I am a carrier of faith,
Faith.
hope,
Hope.
yes, AIDS,
AIDS.
not AIDS, but AIDS.
But AIDS? Fear
Your will, God's Poppies. Trust me.
Trust me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a messenger
I am a messenger
of mortality,
of mortality,
and or the lack thereof,
and or the lack thereof,
sent without your request,
without your request,
conscious by the goddesses and gods.
conscious by the goddesses and gods.
My heel has a weakness,
My heel has a weakness,
as only seen by others' ignorance.
as only seen by others' ignorance.
It's compassion.
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 I drew.
Linda. Kathy.
Alfredo.